audio is working. If you can hear this, just give it a thumbs up in the chat. Just make sure that the audio is good.
And one time for the people who've been holding me down. And two times for the people who've been holding me down. And three times for the people I don't see them around. I just been moving around. Yeah. Yeah. I'll react if I had to. Put some things in the past too, and don't let them distract you, but react if you have to. Yeah. I'll react if I had to. Put some things in the past too, and don't let them distract you, but react if you have to. Yeah. React if you have to. Yeah.
All right. What's good, everybody? Welcome to the third stream that we've done in what feels like we're back to back, almost 3 weeks. Thought it'd be sort of cool to bring this back, do it regularly. 9 p.m. is the time, and looks like we've got a hell of a packed house here today. We'll briefly touch over the chat here in just a moment. Got some cool things to talk about, and I wouldn't say necessarily breaking news, but DJI did put out a statement in regards to Phone the Drone. So I thought that was pretty cool that they did acknowledge all the complaints and the concerns. If the chat and the audio is sounding and looking good, be sure to drop the stream a thumbs up. Lets me know that you guys want me to keep doing these streams weekly. I really do appreciate it. I think at this point, let me just double check the audio. Eddie's saying that the audio is good. And yeah, sounds good. Sweet. All right, so let's just jump into it today. What's going on, everybody? Bobcat, FPV, Jordan Drones, AV Drummer, Flight Time. Whoa, wait a second. Flight Time. That's not like Flight Time Podcast Flight Time. If you haven't subscribed to that, be sure to do so. JB, B-Man80, Eddie Nunez, Omar Cuz, I don't know if I'm saying if that's Kuz or Cuz, P-Rex, JB, Eric Dawkins. Did I get Yulon? I think I got Yulon. Something in Chinese that says original Dobo. That could be Pataka. Wondering where their case review is. It's never coming, Pataka. Never, ever in a day. All righty, cool. Zappy's here. We got Phantom Flight 101. What's going on, guys? Thanks so much for joining me. I know there's this thing going on. I think it's a debate, but being here is more important than that, I would think. I mean, depending on what side you fall on, but we're not about that here. We're just about drones. So tonight I wanted to talk a little bit more about phone to drone as I spit all over my mic. That was awesome. We're going to talk about phone to drone. We're also going to go over the statement that DJI put out, which I think it's really important to go over this because, you know, a lot of people will quickly go ahead and put out a video, you know, and just trash a company. And, you know, I want to take a moment to applaud them for putting out a statement, but also I scratch my head at the same extent, wondering why this wasn't the case in the first point. So let's go ahead and jump over to scene number 5. I'm going to go ahead and open up this window here. I got to make sure Pornhub's closed off here. All right, it is. Cool. Let's go ahead and switch over. All right, so DJI put out a statement. And by the way, I'll go ahead and put this over into the chat because this is just absolutely epic that they put this out. So here is the actual statement if you guys want to read along. But anyways, it says, who should know where a pilot is located? It's funny. This comes out, 2 days after multiple publications put out articles, you know, expressing their concerns over drone to phone. My video obviously dropped and several others voiced their concerns online. While they didn't specifically mention me, they did quote a couple of key phrases from the video I put out. But basically, they sort of walk back on the idea that the public needs to have knowledge of where a pilot is. And they also sort of put it back onto the FAA's hands, like making it seem like, well, the FAA says these things. It's not necessarily, you know, us. Israel, there is here in the States. I can't speak specifically for other countries, but yeah, here in the States, I mean, we have privacy laws, but you know, it depends, you know, it depends on what the situation is. There's like data. What the hell is it? It's something about wireless communication, something to do with wireless communications. It really pertains to phones back in the day when the government was able to tap phones and things like that. That's really what it pertained to. I don't know how well it, actually coincides with drones, for instance, but anyways. So they put out this article which I thought was pretty interesting. They sort of went through and talked about a little bit more in depth about phone to drone. So I encourage you to read this article. They also went over what phone to drone is in and isn't. And again, I think it's, a pretty good and revealing article. They realize that, not everybody needs to have the access to the pilot. They also have realized now that knowing where a pilot is for just the general public is probably not a good idea. Obviously, criminals could have access to that information and potentially, rob you. Not that they would take your drone, but they could rob you personally if they knew you were flying out in the open. And then obviously also, disgruntled residents in an area, in a suburban area, could potentially seek you out. So they realize that's a bad idea. I also saw some people say specifically that they were like, oh, I'll just turn on my airplane mode on my phone and they won't be able to find me. Now, it doesn't quite work that way because our drones, the new drones like the Mavic 2 and the Phantom 4 2.0, emit this wireless frequency. And that is exactly what is being picked up through the wireless. So it's sort of interesting, but it's a great article. Phone to drone will work with the smart controller because remember, it's not necessarily your phone, it's drone to phone. So the drone is emitting a Wi-Fi signal that can be picked up and received. It's not your phone causing the signal. It's your drone that's causing the signal. So it's and novice, I would say, I probably wouldn't have problems with criminals here, but I know in, certain cities, like let's say for instance, Detroit or something, that could be a potential problem. Or, I think about the times I fly in Philadelphia. While most parts of Philadelphia are totally safe, there are parts of Philadelphia where I've flown where I would be nervous, with somebody knowing that information. Now, here's the opposite, the flip side of that coin. Would a criminal be smart enough to be scanning for a drone with the drone to phone application? Probably not. Probably not. Would a resident know about this application? Probably not, especially like an elderly citizen. So the vast majority of people probably wouldn't know about this. But the problem is, as many people fly DJI, there would be those one-off oddity situations. We see odd situations all the time, and we call those, the exceptions, not the rules. So I could see one of these situations occurring, with the exception. The other thing to remember is phone to drone or drone to phone wouldn't just pertain to the US. It would be anywhere somebody would be flying a DJI product. So, you would be dealing with other countries. And again, just because it doesn't happen here in the States doesn't mean I would ever want to see something, happen that would be negligent whatsoever. So there's certain instances where this could be potentially dangerous, especially when we're dealing with, other countries, because, in the US, I would say people are pretty much decent, for the most part. But in other countries, let's say like, I don't know, I'm thinking, somewhere maybe down in Colombia or something, this may be a big ordeal. Or, maybe like one of the South American countries where, somebody could get robbed maybe at gunpoint or something over a drone. They don't really value things the same way, like over in Europe or even the States. Just saying. No offense to anybody. Joe, I've never had a problem in Tampa, although, I mean, depending on what part of Tampa you're flying in, the parts I fly in, I feel pretty safe that it's just basically hipsters and sightseers. So I'd probably be okay. What's going on, Jen? What's up, man? So, anyways, that article I put in the chat, I will paste it into the chat one more time for you here. In case you didn't get a chance to read this or you didn't know it was something that happened. Drone Laws, which is Brendan Schulman, he tweeted this out. And obviously, again, he's on the forefront of all this right now, and he's going to take a brunt of the outrage and outcry from most of the people who fly DJI products. So I'm glad to see that they put this out. I'm glad they responded so quickly. I didn't expect them to respond to this at all, but I think enough of people made noise about this. Like, hey, I understand we need a solution, but we don't really like sort of the criteria of this solution. And that I think was the main problem, was, the privacy aspect of it. It kills me, because what I feel as of right now, no matter what we do, we're always going to be battling some sort of hurdle in this hobby. And it's increasingly gotten worse. I look at the time when I started heavily flying to now. I mean, it's crazy. It was funny. A video popped up talking about remote ID back 2 years ago. Matter of fact, Billy made a video on remote ID, remote identification, that DJI was introducing from 2 years ago. And we were talking about this, and now it's all, coming to the front and center. It's a little annoying, to say the least. I agree. And here's the thing about law enforcement. I said that law enforcement should be the only ones with access to that information. And I want to sort of backtrack that a little bit. I agree that law enforcement would need access to that information, but here's what I would love to see DJI do. If they're going to go down this rabbit hole of this drone to phone technology, there needs to be a prompt letting you know that somebody is requesting information from you, right? Think about, if you get pulled over in your car, the cop pulls up to your driver's side door, and you can, willingly not roll down your window and sit there and ask for a lawyer, or you can roll down the window and give them your license and registration, right? That's how it works. You have to provide that because they are asking it. I don't think they should just have an open door policy to this information. I think there needs to be a request procedure, and it can be something as a canned response, or it identifies who's requesting the information. Am I right? I mean, if I want to know something about somebody, there should be a prompt process. What kills me is that in the state of California, and here's another thing about all this is, there's laws outlined in states now. So California's got this online Privacy Act, right? So now you're openly asking for information from somebody, and technically it transmits over wireless signal. So there's a big, what if, because now you're transmitting information. And in California, you have to be able to opt out of those things due to the California Online Privacy Act. They call it COPPA. So there's a lot of, things that they still have to work out that I don't think they've necessarily thought of. But I think that if they're going to go down this rabbit hole, which it sounds like they are, they need to make it to where we can, grant that person access to our information. And okay, so let's say if we're going to go down the path of, okay, we're going to allow, anybody and everybody access to this data, right? And we're going to say, okay, consumers that download this application can see the drone. I think if that's what they want to do, again, it should be anonymized, and there should be a request process where maybe they don't get to know exactly what's happening until you review it after your flight. Like, let's say there's a concerned citizen asking about your flight. You can review it after the fact and, send that person a canned response. And if the person is not satisfied with that response, they can query up, a higher call-in for that matter. I just think that needs to be a protocol in this regard. All right, so let's jump into the chat and just take a look at some of the comments going through. Above and Beyond says, 2018 Reauthorization Act gave the FAA 3 years to comply. This open-ended proposal is not the way. I agree with that 100%. I just sort of think it was stupid from the get-go. It's almost like they were waiting to see what the industry was going to do, whether or not companies like Amazon, UPS, or FedEx were going to truly utilize drones, which it sounds like they are. And more importantly, humans eventually will be traveling via drone, I'm sure. Like if your wife is tracking your phone. Lon, that little bit different. So it's how do we know DJI will not sell all drone pilots' info to third parties on the backside? I mean, according to independent studies from security research firms, they aren't. But again, we just never know. I mean, it's the same instance of we trust Apple with things, we trust Google with things. I mean, I don't think DJI is going to gain so much info from us. I know a lot of us freak out about it, and it's a knee-jerk panic. But I think on the back end of things, I don't think there's as much to be concerned with information transmitted through our drones as I would worry about with our phones. I would worry more about Google or Apple than I would necessarily about DJI, but that's just me. All right, so I agree, just like everyone, says Novice Quaz, the options to identify a drone and or its user, you should get some kind of alert saying that an individual is trying to obtain your personal flight information. Yeah, I mean, it's just that simple. I mean, it probably wouldn't be that hard for them to implement that. Also, I don't think that just anybody should be able to download the app. I think you should have to go through some sort of registration process. I mean, let's think about this in more of a realistic term. In order to get a unlock on a DJI drone, what do you have to enter to be able to unlock a drone in certain Class B or Class C airspaces? You either have to enter a credit card, which identifies you as the person, or you have to enter a phone number. I think if you're going to sign up for this application, you either need to enter a credit card or you need to enter a phone number. So if something should happen, you can be easily identified, and you, as the person who are seeking that drone pilot, are not just another John Doe. That's just my thoughts on that. I could be out of line, but I mean, I think that would also deter, criminals or disgruntled people from potentially using it. And it also gives them a bit of a cool down period because they have to download that application. It's the same thing with a weapon. You have a cooldown period. I think that there needs to be some sort of verification period before they can, immediately identify somebody. I just think it's a bad idea. Again, these are just ideas that have been spinning around, spooling in my head since, seeing this. In my opinion, we are attacking DJI, but they're just trying to come up with some kind of solution. So I'm going to be completely blunt. Nobody's attacking DJI. DJI doesn't give a flying shit about us. They don't give a shit about us. They care about keeping their products up in the air. In case anybody's been sleeping under a rock, the federal government has grounded 800 UAVs that DJI has supplied to government agencies because they were deemed not compliant with the federal government. So DJI doesn't give a shit about you or me. They care about their product and being able to continue to sell more. So whatever solution they are finding is self-motivated. It's not because they care about the community of hobbyists, or they care about anything other than putting their products in as many people's hands as possible. And I can't fault them for that. They're a business. They're in business to be in business. So can't fault them for that. So they're just trying to sell drones, and they're going to do anything and by any means necessary. And right now they're trying to save a lot of face. Again, with remote ID popping up, and then, the federal government saying, hey, whoa, we don't want any drones from China being used. That's a big blow to them. That's a huge blow. And it's honestly, Joe, it's all about money. But, make no mistake, they don't care. And to anybody that is stating that, I saw a lot of comments. I want to flip back over to this because I never usually do this. But let's read some comments from that video that I put out, because a lot of people are really pissed with DJI, and, okay, I get it. They should be, because they propose something that is, could be, catastrophic to a lot of people's privacy and, the way they go about things. But I also see a lot of people, like this guy says, Autel. Okay. Autel's going to probably be bound to similar restrictions eventually as well. So Alltel's not immune to this. They're not immune to remote identification. And the last time I asked the question when I was at CES about remote ID, they don't have a plan in place, or at least one that they were willing to disclose or talk about. So there's a lot of companies that don't have a plan right now for remote ID. So people are like, well, this will be the last DJI drone that I buy. I hate to tell you this, and I know it sounds like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. That may be one of your only options for a little while if you want something with, any future proofing whatsoever, because they're the only ones that are building a solution or an infrastructure right now. I know it sucks because it's like, okay, I don't want to be spied on. I don't want my privacy at risk, but I still want to be able to fly. I still have a job to do. Those are your options, unfortunately. And again, in this niche, when you're dealing with camera drones, it's very, I wouldn't say, I guess it's diluted because we have very limited choices as far as brands go, which is unfortunate. But we really don't have an American drone manufacturer that's stepped up to the plate. Skydio doesn't count because they built a drone that is very limited, has very limited functions, and has a lot of caveats that the conventional drone pilot does not want to deal with. So right out of the gate, they don't count until they can bring something to the table. That's what I think as far as that go. But I mean, reading through some of these comments, I mean, y'all were pissed about this. I mean, you guys were really, really, really pissed about this. And again, I mean, you guys have every right to be. But again, this is part of the reason why they put out that memorandum today, basically sort of backtracking this a little bit because they needed to. There was 3,200 views on that video and I received 300 comments. That's a lot of pissed off people. And I bet you a lot of people also called their support, ripping them a new one. There's a lot of people with free time on their hands, obviously. So, but I digress. So let's take a look. I'm sorry. I got to go through the comment section here a little bit better. So people are claiming DJI is doing this just because they are Chinese or communists. It's just a ridiculous stance. Again, it's hard to change the mindset of individuals because, again, you also have to think of the age of the pilot and what they've gone through and what we've seen. And, obviously the media will always portray whatever story they have of, the Chinese, but I'm not going to argue that. I'm not going to fall down that rabbit hole. So let's keep going through here. Let's see. License plate number is enough until authorization person request it. Keep it simple. I agree. I couldn't agree much more than that. I mean, just keep it as simple as possible, but it doesn't sound like they are going to keep it simple, sadly. It seems a proximity to high-risk targets would be better to focus on drones that could be more danger of concern. Okay, so that's an interesting take on this. Implement something like this in high-risk areas or areas where there could be a sporting event, TFR, something to that effect. I mean, that could be something. I mean, hell, we've got proximity indicators on everything else within their application, so that would make total sense. I don't see why not. So tell me, how are they going to enforce this? FAA police come to your house? There's no FAA police. Look, there's no FAA police. If you have an infraction, typically what will happen is the FAA will send you a letter, and that letter may ask you to call them, or you may get a call from an officer, depending on the severity of that infraction. Local law enforcement may be contacted, but there are no FAA police that are going to specifically come to your house. They may ask you to meet an FAA agent at a local airport. I've heard of stories of that, but beyond that, they're not going to come knock on your door, best of my knowledge. Huawei. So Collective Dog says, Huawei is part of the communist government, says our CI, just saying. So Huawei was busted and they found a chip that was collecting data on Huawei devices. And Huawei is primarily the big reason as to why this whole thing got spooled up, was the things that they found within their devices that they deemed unsafe. So Huawei is the primary culprit of that. Where does so Ariel Engine asks, Ken, where does the AMA stand on this? I've looked for articles on that. I really haven't seen much out of the AMA. I'm sure they're a little bit slower they're a little more articulated, I guess, slower to react, but usually very well articulated when they do comments. So I'll continue scanning their site as well to see if they make any comment. But personally, I think that we need something like the AMA, but for drones specifically, because the AMA just isn't cutting the mustard, unfortunately. All right, so they have been used to drop drugs into prison. So Collective Dog says they have been used to drop drugs into prisons here in the U.S., and so they have been jamming devices now to prevent drones near some prisons. And they should, because here in Florida, that has happened. Matter of fact, a couple got busted. They used an M210 to drop paraphernalia into a prison up in North Florida. And I think they actually jammed the signal, and they were able to apprehend the drone, and they apprehended the people that were piloting the drone as well. So AMA doesn't have any say over drones unless if you're on their AMA fields, Eddie. So the way AMA works, they have these fields in which you can fly if you have a membership per se. And that would be the only governing restriction that the AMA has. Other than that, they don't have anything. And again, I know a lot of pilots that fly, model aircrafts get really bent out of shape anytime drone guys start talking about the AMA. I mean, it's like the Knights of Columbus for them. With that being said, I need to take a drink. I need a drink. Whew. All right. So you'll have Salon says you'll have an ID number, I guess your FAA registration number, and that's all as far as identity. Right. But so the biggest problem with all this is that DJI didn't specifically outline how they plan to identify people. Now, if they would have did their due diligence and initially said this in the initial video and played up privacy a little bit more, guess what? A lot less people would be really bent out of shape. A lot less people would be bent out of shape. So, but they didn't do that. They waited till all the shit hit the fan, and then they did. Now they're playing, cleanup, and they're doing damage control. That man stunt drone. Yeah, not in this lifetime. I saw that though. That was pretty incredible though. So let's see. So Avi Riviera Castro says Autel and X Dynamics can temporarily benefit from this DJI move in the next couple of years. Also, there will be a lot more drone pilots migrate into FPV. All right, so I don't think a lot of drone pilots will necessarily, migrate to FPV, because again, if we look at the demographic of pilots that fly, camera drones, for instance, camera drones are one of those things that I feel have an audience demographic of, let's say, 35 to, we'll say, 60, 65, maybe a little bit on the outlier of that. FPV takes on a lot for a lot of people to learn. Also, a lot of the information that's out there and available is a little bit convoluted. It takes a little bit of time to figure it out. I don't think a lot of people have the patience to sit there and troubleshoot. I commend anybody who's flying FPV or building their drones, programming them and tuning them, because it takes a lot of time and it's tedious and it's time consuming, and the flight characteristics of FPV drones are not the same as a camera drone. They aren't quite as convenient. If I went on a trip and I wanted to get my drone up in the air, an FPV drone would probably not be my first choice. So I don't think there will be a lot of people migrating over that way, not unless they make FPV kits that are readily available at reasonable cost. Plus, too, a lot of people have a hard time with the goggles. If you wear contacts or glasses, that may be a reason why FPV would not be for you. All right. So it says, are you familiar with the symposium that's going to happen concerning drones delivering to companies? I am familiar with the symposium that's going to be happening. I saw that they were taking registrations. I'm just going to follow along with it online, just because I don't think, Doug, I am not calling you dumb. Not at all. I'm just saying that the vast majority of pilots probably don't want to sit there and, sit there and tune a drone. I mean, most of us want to get up in the air as fast as possible. And I can just see myself, or I can see one of us cutting our fingers off because we forget to, hit the kill switch to the drone itself. I mean, I've done that. I've witnessed Sean Oz do that at Spin Up. For Christ's sakes, we almost hit an old guy in the face with an FPV drone flying with Doc Murdoch. I mean, it takes some time. It takes some finesse to learn how to pilot them. And, that's something that, I mean, if somebody wants to go down that rabbit hole, just know that there's going to be a little bit of time and learning curve to do so. All right, so let's jump back in the chat. Whoa, 51 drones in the house. All right, so let's see. Please note, Skydio is a member of the Commercial Drone Alliance, the very outfit doing the airspace grab. Yeah, Skydio needs to do some work on their product a little bit. I mean, how it does autonomously and how it will interface with drone deploy, we'll have to wait and see how that all plays out, but it'll be interesting. Scott says you guys may want to take up fishing instead. It may come down to it, man. It may come down to it. I hope not. I mean, I really do hope not. All right, so let's see. Let's keep going through. When you wear goggles, you are not following the line of sight rule. I mean, yes, that is technically true unless you have a spotter, but I'm not going to get into it because I know the FAA rules purists will want to battle that up and down. But listen, I go back to the fact that if I hit 75, I-75, which is an interstate, speed limit 75, I'm probably doing 85 or keeping up with the flow of traffic, which is actually breaking the law. So, I mean, we all do things, in hobbies that are not by the rules, but I mean, again, it's sort of safe type of thing. I mean, just be smart with whatever you do, whatever you do. I'm not saying to break the law, break the rules. Don't say I didn't say that. All right. So hello, Mike Roche. How's it going, buddy? Crazy Leg 2006. Welcome. All righty. Okay. So let's get back into, you can fish from a drone lawn if you have one of those, was it splash drones? Although they're not very practical, but anyways, I digress. All right. Yeah, Russ did have it's a ban. The level of regulation, it's a ban. Whoa, Doug Bell, what the hell, man? Thank you so much. I appreciate that, sir. I'm going to wear a helmet when I go from the Mavic 2 to FPV Racer. You're definitely going to need to wear a helmet because I'm going to tell you right now, the couple of times that I've played with FPV, I've either put it into a tree or I've almost hit somebody with it. So yeah, helmet's definitely a good idea. I would suggest starting out with a Tiny Hawk. A Tiny Hawk drone is always a good move. And you know what? I think I have one. So Banggood actually sent me out a Tiny Hawk. It's an Emax. Totally unused. It's never been tuned, never ran. So why don't we give this away on the stream? So let's we need a clever way to give this away on the stream though. So again, it's brand new, coronavirus free. So I will give this away on the stream to somebody who's wanting to learn FPV, or maybe you have, enough of this stuff together that you want to try this out. I mean, it's a great drone to learn on. I got a chance to fly one of these I think it was like 2 months ago. I got a chance to fly one of these. They're super fun. You can, fly around the house. I mean, you won't lose it very quickly. And it's under the weight restrictions, so it doesn't actually classify as a drone. That's not fair because I've always tweeted it. So let's we'll do that. That's actually a good way to win it. The first person that can tell me what the name of my carpet python is gets a drone. And if you were following me on Twitter, you'd probably already know the answer. So the first person that can name my carpet python, I'll send the Emax Tiny Hawk to. So first person to name my carpet python gets the Emax Tiny Hawk. So I'll let that mellow. If you go way back in my tangents and tweets, you may be able to find it. It was tweeted about 2 months ago. So just throwing that out there. I will give you a hint. She's from Australia. So they call it a bread-like carpet python. She's from Australia and it's a female. So if you can name the carpet python, I'll send it back. There's a lot of good names coming, a lot of Australian names. It's an Australian name, by the way. So we'll see where that goes. So Paul Hendershot says, thanks, Ken. Everyone call AOPA and get them to get off their behinds and protect the Part 107 operators and the future Part 107 operators, currently known as hobbyists. I agree. I 100% agree. That's a great idea to do that. Write to him, or again, make sure you are. A lot of great Australian names coming through here. My goodness, a lot of great Australian names. Not close yet. So we'll niche this down. It's between D and F is the first initial. So between D and F, so somewhere in there. So it could be, you tell me. So it's an Australian name. It's a pretty common Australian name. I did give up on FPV pretty quickly. I don't have the patience. Like if you've ever watched me like do anything, I don't have a lot of patience. So, I mean, my frustration level goes, 0 to 100 rather swiftly. Okay. Okay. So Geek Spana is so far the closest. Lon Denard is getting hot up. Drones getting closer. So close, so close. So close. Like I said, it's Australian name. It does start with an E. So you guys are getting close. What's going on, BK? Good to see you. Good to see you. FPV does take a lot of dedication. It's not that I don't have dedication. I have less time than I can dedicate. Getting very close. It's sort of interesting. Close, not there. That's a great Australian name. I wish I would have thought of Ellie first. That would have been great. Not Eli. So close. I'll tell you how I came up with her name. I basically Googled Australian names. That's all I did. I looked for Australian names on Google, and it was just one of the first ones that stuck out to me. It's a name that starts with E. I'm absolutely obsessed with Australia. Clumming close, so close. Seen a lot of Elizabeth is a very Australian name, but it's not that. Let's see. Guys type so fast. I'll do this. I'm going to say, because Mike, you win so many of them. Mike, you are the closest, Mike. Eddie Nunez, you got it. Eddie wins it. Eddie Nunez got it. Evie is her name. I'd pull her out, but I just fed her yesterday, so can't handle her. So Eddie, you win it. Evie is the name. So Eddie, you get the Emax Tiny Hawk. So you already know how to reach me, dude. So all you have to do is shoot me a DM. You got it. Eddie wins it with Evie. So Evie is the name. There you go. So there you go. That's about as Australian as it gets. So there you go. Emax Tiny Hawk is coming your way. I'm going to start doing giveaways every live stream. Just give you guys something that you either don't want or you need. So you guys give me suggestions of things that you need, like maybe it's something you just use. I'll make that part of a giveaway. We're starting to fly FPV, and you've got a lot of great people lean on to get this thing tuned up. So I know you have plenty of resources to be able to figure out how to either lose this thing or figure out how to fly it. It's a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun. Alrighty. So, well, thanks, man. I'm drinking a porter. If you guys ever make your way down to Sarasota, this thing is absolutely stupendous. It tastes like chocolate milk with alcohol. It's really good. All right, so high fives all around for Eddie. Thank you again for that super chat, Eddie. Not necessary, but thank you very much. All right, so we just touched base a little bit on obviously DJI's deal. We read some comments from that recent video, which really still shocks me. So many comments on that video. People really do get pissed about this. I was gonna see. Okay. This is probably stupid. So, you know, what's funny too is all this DJI stuff is actually sparking a lot of comments on other videos from DJI. So we did a video where it's, Justin wrecked his, or had his drone got hit with the TFR. And that one's coming up. Sorry, guys, the beer is starting to hit me right there in the feels. This guy, Chuck Myers, really pissing me off. So let's just flip over here to Chuck Myers' comment. I don't like Chuck Myers right now. All right, Chuck, dickhead. This guy. I'm going to take the nicer approach. Chuck's an asshole. Anyways, I digress. All right, let's jump back into the comment. Oh, there's Peter James, somebody who I haven't seen for a very, very long time. BK, man, you can send Eddie a stack of beers, man. This is worth this thing is only worth, it's worth 80 bucks, I think, is the value on the Emax, maybe less depending on where you get it from. I digress though. So lots of interesting comments though. To this thing really sparked up for some reason. I don't know why this is becoming anything now. So, I got to read this one. Maybe he's not from the States here. I don't know. It's always funny reading the comments of people from like Europe or something, because like the way they word things, they're being nice, they're being polite, but it's just the way things are worded. I think that's why Ash and I used to butt heads all the time, because it's just that thought difference between here and across the pond. I don't know. I don't know. I'll leave that. I should just leave that one alone. I'll leave it alone. I'm not even gonna jump on that. It's because my luck, I'd say something stupid. But yeah, just reading through some of these comments though from that video, my goodness, man, that really took a turn for the worse. I did not expect that, but I mean, it's a heated discussion. Anytime, privacy is at risk, there you go. Something that I did see come up here just a couple of days ago. Where is it? Michigan. Something that I thought was a win. Drone arrest. Something cool that I saw. There was a gentleman who beat somewhere, I think it was just outside of Detroit, somewhere in Michigan. He was flying his drone in a park. He was arrested, and he fought that, and he won. So basically now I guess you're allowed to fly in parks in Michigan. I'm not 100% sure, but he got arrested for flying his drone in a park in Michigan, which is crazy. I don't know the circumstance, but he was off-duty firefighter, got arrested. And he beat it. It was a pretty cool article. Let's see. And I got my drone because of you and truly on point. Steven, I really do appreciate that. Sup air? What, Russ? Sup air? I didn't even check to see what the stream was. I didn't even see. Oh, wow. That's a lot. Is the USA trying to thin out the airspace for Amazon and UPS, do you think? And that's a question from Echo's Hobby. I don't think they're necessarily trying to thin out the air. I think they're just trying to make sure, whoa, Jesus. I think that they're just trying to make sure it's as safe as possible. Again, even though these drones that will be flying are not going to be manned drones, they want to make sure it's safe because they are potentially going to be flying over traffic. They're going to be flying over residential homes. So they want to make sure it is as safe as possible. So, I mean, they could, I don't know. I mean, there's just so much swirling around all this. It's going to be really interesting when this comment window closes, what the FAA takes away from all this. And again, like I've said it, mark my words, if they deliberate quickly, that means our comments were worthless. But if they take their time and really, really peruse through those comments and develop a strategy, and it should take them a while to figure this out, then that means our comments were worth something. But if they go at this swiftly, then it wasn't worth anything at all. So, yeah, that will definitely suck. So, what BK say? Yeah, if I came to my house once for flying when Trump was flying by, yeah, that I'm sure that could happen. I mean, that's why when I go to South Florida, I'm down in South Florida typically twice a month. And where my corporate office is right next to Mar-a-Lago. A lot of times the first thing I do is I open up Kitty Hawk, I look at the news, and I make sure that Trump is not in the South Florida region, which he hasn't been this late in his presidency. He hasn't been, so I've been really lucky. But in the earlier days of his presidency, there was times I was down there where I just couldn't fly. It was beautiful weather, couldn't do anything because I was within that cone, that presidential cone. Sort of sucked, but it is what it is. Doc, if you come out to Florida, that would be epic because I can definitely use some time. You know what it is? I need to just stop buying camera gear, and then I can buy FPV stuff. I just keep buying camera gear. And I buy camera gear simply because with real estate, I'm always looking for ways to offer clients something new. So I put everything else on the back burner, like quite literally all the drones and everything I have, I use them as tools with clients. So I'm always trying to make sure I can offer a client something different than my competitor. That's my number one priority, is to try to stay on top of the market here. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. 18,000 comments on the MPRM, which is incredible. That's quite a bit. I'm glad to see that there's that many, and it's going to take them quite a bit of time to sift through all those comments. It's going to take them some time. And John, I think you're right. We're gonna see a long time before we see any packages being delivered. I would say we're probably about 3 to 4 years away from packages being delivered. They obviously have to amend rules. They have to showcase these drones in a safe environment. And the reality is, what packages can these really deliver? I mean, you're going to be pretty limited to what these can carry. So obviously payload capacities are going to be a big factor on whether or not these are actually useful for Amazon. And Amazon's got such a chokehold on the market, but it'll be interesting to see if there's any competitors that can overthrow them. So always interesting to see. Recently, there was a bust of a terrorist cell where they found several brand new drones and explosive. There were 72 drone incidents at the Super Bowl. Interesting. I heard of the incidents. I didn't hear about the terrorist cell. Interesting though. Jaybird says, love the camera gear. Picked up the Ninja V to go along with my Z6. Jason, make sure you go ahead and send that in and get that raw update, because wow, that $200 goes a long way with the Z6. The raw update is absolutely amazing. The things that you can do if you haven't already, because with the Ninja V, you can really untap the potential of that camera. It's incredible. They're not even looking at the contents. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Steve-O. unfortunately, my belief is the FAA already has made up their they probably have, but again, they're just going through the motion, if you will, if that's what you want to call it. They're going through the motion of, making it seem like they're listening to us. Really hard to say. I would hope they're listening to us. That would suck. That would suck. Lon, there will always be idiots with drones, regardless of these proposed rules. Seems like commercial is pushing these remote ideas. Sort of is. If you look at, like, let's say you look at Kitty Hawk, or you look at Air Maps, they're, like I said, they're salivating at the fact that there's potentially money on the line. It's cool that DJI offered up a solution that, doesn't cost anything, but it's at privacy expense, which sort of sucks. Can you repost the link for your DJI response? I was late arriving. Sure, we can definitely do that. Let's go to video. I think it's this one. Yeah. So this was the initial video. And then this was DJI's response. So I'll paste 2 in the chat. Control V that. Yeah, there it is. And that's there. That was DJI's response. So you got this video here. Oh no, what did I do? Oh, there it is. Just make sure that that was absolutely the right link. The last thing I want to do is give you the wrong link. And that's a YouTube video, so it's, there it is, yeah. All right, cool, that was it. All right, that was the right link. I just wanted to make sure I gave you the right one. All right, so let me jump back into the chat here and read some more of these questions. What happens to existing drones without hardware like the Mavic 2? They really haven't specifically stated that as of yet. They haven't said whether or not they're going to be obsolete. They haven't said whether or not they were going to retro it. I mean, again, if this is 3 years down the pipe here, chances are you're probably not going to be flying that drone anymore, and it's not going to be compliant. That's just early thought on that. So again, I go back to why it's really important to, when you're choosing a drone, to make sure you're choosing something that's going to give you at least 3 years out of it, But again, it's too soon to really tell. We'll have to wait to see what their ruling is. As to camera gear, I have the Canon Rebel XT and Canon T5, Canon Vixia HF, and Xiaomi. That's quite a bit of cameras there, Doc. That is quite a bit of cameras there. In Ireland, we deliver pizza by drone. I need to move to Ireland then. That sounds phenomenal. Sounds phenomenal. Doing fly my 3DR solo. Oh, the solo. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to just drop them in the chat. We've got about 8 more minutes, and then we're just going to cut this one loose. I'm trying to keep these streams to at least an hour, especially, yeah, beer by drone would be epic. I would be totally about that. I'm trying to keep these streams to at least an hour or so. So should be picking it back up here in a couple of days. I've got some cool products coming. I've got an interesting product coming in the next couple of days we're going to take a look at. So it'll be a nice little change of pace from talking about DJI and Autel, because I felt like lately I've done a lot of conversational pieces, not so much flying. So I want to get back out there and start flying, do some more tutorials. I've got a tutorial coming up on HLG for the Mavic 2 Pro. So for any of you guys who have a Mavic 2 Pro, I've got a tutorial coming up on HLG footage and how to color correct and color grade that, because I switched from using D-Log M, which it's totally sped up my workflow entirely, which is primo, super primo. When am I going to make another Skydio 2 video? Probably not for a while. I'm giving that a rest, especially since I just sold my personal one. I'm probably going to give the Skydio 2 a break, give it a breather a little bit. I've hit them pretty hard recently, I feel. So I'm definitely going to give them a breather. I'm just bored with the drone, honestly. Really bored with their product, sadly. It says, hey, Ken, loving the Zoom we bought from you. Thank you, man. Dude, I appreciate it, dude. I'm glad to see you guys still flying it. Hopefully she loves it, man. That is really awesome. So George, if you just got here now, um, so I made this title yesterday before DJI put out their statement to their proposed remote identification solution. So they were losing their minds. They sort of backtracked a little bit. I still think they're losing their mind, but you'll have to watch the beginning of the stream when you get a chance to really understand as to why I said that they're losing their minds. So go back, watch the beginning portion of the stream. You'll sort of get a good understanding on how. Just bought my Mavic 2 Pro. Did I make a mistake towards future flight? Fly high? No, not at all. Again, the Mavic 2 lineup is pretty much, future proof to an extent. If the FAA decides to go the route that, DJI is proposing, then you're totally safe. You're totally safe. Dan, I get it. FP fucking V. I got it, dude. I got it. I've seen it like 12 times. I got it, dude. FPV. Yep. Fucking guy, man. Thinking back to that boat trip, I should have pushed you over. I had my opportunity. You were pulling in that fish. I saw it. I should have just pushed you right over, tossed you a life raft, and said, "I'll see you on shore." I had the opportunity. I wasted a golden opportunity. It's cool, man. It's cool. There was an island out there somewhere. I'm sure you would have found it. What about the egg? The egg. Well, we'll find out. We'll find out next week about the egg. So we'll see how that's going. Early people, a lot of people got it in its hands, and I'm sort of seeing mixed thoughts on that. It's really, really tough to say, what the egg. Oh, stop it, Dan. Everybody likes you and hates you all in the same breath, man. Nobody hates you, and nobody does not like you. It's really complicated. You've got a really complicated role in the drone community. You're like that villain that you're like Doofenshmirtz from Phineas and Ferb. I don't know. My kids watch it. It's phenomenal. The tri-state area. But yeah. I digress, man. You are what you are. It is. Where was that? You totally derailed my thought process. Damn you. I don't even know what I was saying. Oh, the egg. Captain Drone loves all drones. Captain I think he takes all the drones, throws them in his bed at night, and falls asleep with them because he loves them all. So we'll see how it's going to do. Hopefully we get a lot of wet weather, rains down here. It'd be cool to fly it in, some inclement weather to see how it does. But I did hear that. I did hear that he fried the egg. So we'll see what happens, It'll be interesting. Again, super. Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that. It's, again, I think, and that was my fear too. Remember that drone? What was it called? Oh, the Falcon V copter. Remember that drone? People are going to be really disappointed with that camera again, because something is different. They sort of cripple it with these really bad cameras. I think we're going to see a lot of that. That's going to be a running trend this year, is they're going to reuse these old sensors. And yeah, it's just going to be really, really bad. Donald, I will know once I end up with one in my hands officially. We're looking at March. And again, this month's quickly closing. And if you've been keeping up with Alltel's social media, you'll notice that they've done a lot of promoting. And companies typically don't do that if they are going to miss the mark. If you remember back when the Evo 1 first came out, Autel went radio silent, and they went radio silent because, well, they weren't going to put out a drone, so they knew that they better lay low. In this instance, I don't think that's going to be the case this year, so I think they'll make their March debut. So I think all is good, and a lot of people are going to be super, super stoked to get that drone in their hands. And the fact that they're going to have multiple camera systems for that. I know a lot of people are holding out for that Evo 2 Pro. I'm firmly a believer that we're not going to see the Pro camera until probably May, if I had a guess. Just the current timeline. That would give them enough time to ramp up production, make sure all orders are delivered on the 2 before they start delivering the secondary camera. So, but yeah, nothing is moving out of China as of right now. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Again, you guys forget there's multiple manufacturing processes across the world. You have Korea. So there's not just, they don't just put all their eggs in one basket, unfortunately. So we'll see. All right, what is Dan doing here? Smart. Yeah, the Democratic debate, that's just a disaster waiting to happen, or if it's already happening. Just absolutely horrendous. I have not kept up with any politics at all this year, and it's been so good not keeping up with it. So good. No, I think I'm going to put a filter on all future streams that, like, basically you can't say FPV in this stream, or you can only say it once or twice. You can't, like, stutter it through the stream. Like, we're going to ban that. Any idea on other cameras that can be added, including the FLIR camera? Not at this point. They haven't made anything, known. So we'll have to wait and see. Again, another drone that's going to be hitting the market rather soon. I would say April-ish. We should start seeing the reviews of the Evolve 2, which is going to be great. I know they're working in finalizing that. So that'll be another drone that I see what you did there, Dad Random. I see you, man. VPF. I see. See you just feeding into him. He's got nothing better to do than come on the stream and harass old Dobo. I see how it is, Dan. Politicians in diapers change often. Same reason. I can see that. All right, guys. Well, we're at 10:02. I think we'll call it. We'll wrap it. When am I getting a Falcon V-copter? Probably when it snows in Florida in July. No, I have no interest in that drone whatsoever. Like, at all whatsoever. I think it's a terrible idea. There's certain guaranteed bad investments when it comes to drones. The first bad investment for a drone is anything that Unique makes that they put a Q or they label it after an insect. Terrible investment. And then number 2 would be anything from 00 or from a company called 00, because it's got zero chance of being successful. So yeah, no. All right, guys, but that's gonna do it. I'm gonna finish up this beer, I guess. And if you guys want to watch, the Democratic debate, if you didn't get enough entertainment already, and you feel so inclined, Julio, are you here in Spring Hill, my man? Because if you are, that'd be pretty cool, man. We'd definitely have to link up and do some flying. We'll allow that. No. I want to view that. I'm going to allow it. I can't allow it. It won't let me allow it. Okay, no, we can't. You can't do that. All right, so let's see. Come on, admit it. I left the drunk community. Everyone would miss. Yes, Dan, I agree. We would totally miss it if you left the drunk community. I know you're not drunk because you don't drink. It would be slightly less interesting and sometimes maybe a little bit more cohesive. I don't know. Again, I had my opportunity. You were bent over the edge picking up the fish. I could have did the world a favor, but I did not. I digress. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Hope everybody has a good night. If you guys enjoyed the stream, if it looked good, give it a thumbs up. If you enjoyed the audio crispiness and whatnot, I'm still trying to work out this whole scene here. I've sort of migrated filming over by the desk. I still have everything going on over there. I'm just still working in the studio, clearing things out. So hopefully it gets all sorted out and this will become a little bit more put together. All right, guys, stay original. I'm going to hit that button and leave you with my anthem.
I'll react if I had to. Put some things in the past too, and don't let them distract you, but react if you have to. I'll react if I had to. Put some things in the past too, and don't let them distract you, but react if you have to. React if you have to, yeah.